Greetings everyone, and welcome to a special ASMR video. So, I am chewing 2 pieces of blue raspberry bubblegum. And as you may have heard, there is a special crossover event between Fortnite and the Avengers Endgame movie. So I'm going to be having some gameplay in the background for that while I give my experience and a movie review and thoughts on Avengers Endgame, which I just got back from seeing at the movie theater. So, for those that don't know, back when the channel first started, I used to do movie reviews. I called them ASMR Movie Geek reviews. And I did some for like Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman and a few other movies, I think. I can't remember. I think Star Wars, Rogue One, and just a few movies. And I stopped for some reason, even though I absolutely love movies. And I go to the movie theater once or twice a month. It depends if there's a movie that I like, but yeah, just gonna be doing a review. It's spoiler free until I give a warning near the end, and then it's gonna be, spoilers. So don't worry, nothing will be spoiled until I do this. I'm gonna go spoilers, spoilers, spoilers like 3 times, just to give everyone a warning that hasn't seen it yet. But this beginning part is just going to be like my experience going to the theater and my general thoughts on the movie. So let me know in the comments what you think of this Fortnite Avengers event, and let me know if you've seen the movie yet. So basically, I'll put some context here. I've watched just about every Marvel movie at the movie theater, part of the MCU, except for Hulk and the first Captain America and first Thor movie. But after those came out, I watched the first Iron Man movie at the theater, Iron Man 3 I've seen at the theater, Captain America Winter Soldier, Civil War, Guardians of the Galaxy, all those movies. So I've really been invested in the series for a long time, so I got the opportunity to go to an early screening for a 3D version of the movie. So I went to go see 3D version of Avengers Endgame, and after Infinity War came out, I was extremely hyped for the next movie, really excited to see what was going to happen, what was going to go on in the story. And I've just been excited for a month now leading up to the release of this movie in theaters. So basically, I went to the movie theater very early, right when they were going to be opening, and I stood at the entrance. I was the first person at the door before it opened, and as soon as I went in, I bought the tickets, because some theaters are kind of weird. There's only a certain amount of tickets you can actually buy online or pre-order, and then after that you have to come in person before they sell out. So I didn't do any of that. I just got there first. I went in, bought my ticket, and it was kind of funny because shortly after I got in line, 30 people showed up 10 minutes later. So lots of people were all there to see Avengers Endgame in 3D. Since the movie Avengers Endgame was going to be 3 hours, I decided to get some popcorn, that would last for 3 hours, because I'm usually a small popcorn will last me for an hour and a half movie, so I should go with a medium popcorn. So I go over to the popcorn stand, and the guys there are really nice. actually have some popcorn left over, but more on that later. So I asked them if they could do like half sweet popcorn, like you know, the caramel popcorn, and then underneath if they could put the, you know, regular salted popcorn with the butter. And they were like, yeah, sure, we can do that. So they put in first the salted and then on top the caramelized popcorn. So if, you know, once I got tired of having the caramel one, then I could start eating the salted one underneath. I don't normally do that, but this time I just felt like asking for it since this movie is like 3 hours, and I was like, I'm gonna be in there a while. What if I get hungry, you know? So then, like, I didn't even finish like a third of the popcorn. Like, the medium was so big, or maybe I just wasn't that hungry or was paying too much attention on the movie, but I actually still have it saved right here with me. Like, it's a huge like container thing, you know those little like things they give you the popcorn in. Well, this is like a medium one, which I guess is like the size of like 2 small ones, but it feels like a little bit bigger. But yeah, I have popcorn left over, so I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that. Maybe I'll watch a movie here at home or something. But anyway, everything was finally ready. I go in the movie theater, they give you like the special 3D glasses. You get in the special like 3D screen area, because you know movie theaters, they usually have like the IMAX screens and they have the specialized screens just for 3D movies. So I went in that one, and it's like full of people, so I got a nice seat like in the middle, pretty high up in the back, like not all the way in the back, but kind of like a central seating position, so I was happy. And I sit down and I look around me because, you know, before the movie starts, the lights are on and everyone's just chatting or watching trailers and stuff like that. So, I noticed that there's a lot of people, you know, adults in their like 30s and 40s, and then there's a lot of like teenagers, and then a lot of like parents with their kids, like little kids that are like 6 years old. And they're all like sitting here in the theater, so you know it's pretty cool to have like a large demographic of like different age groups for a movie. And the movie starts, so I'm there in my seat, I'm like, yeah, we're finally watching it, I'm so happy. So let me tell you, I'm gonna go over non-spoiler stuff, of course. So the movie starts, I'm like really excited, and so let me tell you, the movie does something where it's like you think you know what's gonna happen, and then it does something completely different. So I thought that was awesome. I was really excited to see a lot of my favorite characters, you know, in this one. I really like Captain America, really like Thor and Iron Man. They're all in this movie. Hawkeye, of course, is in this movie as well. I missed Hawkeye in the Infinity War movie, so I'm glad he was in this one. Captain Marvel, all those characters, you know, that were teased in the trailers are in this. They're great performances from all the actors involved. The special effects are fantastic. They put a lot of money into this movie. If you liked Infinity War, just think more of that. Possibly even more special effects in some areas, but they did a great job. I was watching it in 3D, so a lot of the action scenes really popped out at me while I was watching them. Like, it was really intense, really awesome. The kids seemed to like it a lot. Like, every time something came towards the screen during a fight or something, they'd be like, yeah, and I'd be like in my seat smiling because that's like so cool. And then every once in a while I'd hear like one of the older guys, you know, in the back or something, 45, 50 years old, saying something like, "Oh, that's great," or like, "Hey, that's kind of like the comics," or something like that. And I was like, "See, it's for everyone. Like, everyone really likes these Avengers, Marvel superhero movies, so everyone comes together at the theater." And I forgot to mention, because I was there for like a special screening or something, they gave out like random gadgets, like collectible, I want to say like mini posters or something. I got one for Thanos, which I thought was awesome, and they just handed them out randomly to certain people while they were going in to sit down in their seats. And they also gave people like small figures, like these, not like bobbleheads, but they're around the same size as like a bobblehead. I think I've seen them in like GameStop, of like Marvel superhero characters from the movie. So I got Captain America, so I was excited about that. They're not really like good quality or anything, they're just free little gadgets or whatever that they give you, but it's pretty cool. So, oh man, the movie was so good. Now, I'll say one thing. I liked Infinity War better. Endgame was really good. But here's the thing. I felt like Infinity War had a lot of action. Like, the beginning of the movie starts out right in the action, and then the movie ends with like crazy action. Whereas Endgame, it starts really slow, like it starts at 0. Like, imagine if 0 is sleeping. That's where basically Endgame starts, like really kind of like sleepy, and then it starts to ramp up for the rest of the movie until it reaches like 100. And 100 is like the max crazy action level stuff that you love from the Marvel superhero movies. But the thing is, I was expecting a little more action in the beginning, because the movie's like 3 hours long, you know? So I was expecting like an hour and a half to already have action in it, but the first hour of the movie is basically, like, I'm not spoiling anything, it's a lot of people planning and talking to each other, which, you know, is cool to have all that interaction, but it feels a little bit slower compared to Infinity War, where it's like, we gotta go do this, oh no, this stuff's happening, and it's like tons of crazy chaotic fights and stuff like that. So there were definitely a few moments where I was looking over and some of the teenagers, some of the kids, you know, they weren't checking their cell phones or anything, but you could tell they were a little bit bored because of how slow the movie was paced at these points. But it picks up, and boy, does the movie pick up. Like, it flies off into orbit with the action. Like, the finale to this is probably one of the best ones in all the Marvel movies. I'm not even joking. Like, it was crazy. Are you guys, you know what, I'm not gonna even spoil anything. I'm not gonna even talk about it. Just know it's awesome. If you loved any of the other Avengers movies, you have to go see this one. The ending, great ending. Great conclusion, great performance. Really, really good. Action, CGI, everything with this movie's great. The only thing is, like I said before, it starts off kind of slow, so some people might find that a little bit boring. But just know that it does get more action heavy and like centered around a lot of like fighting near the end of the movie. There's a lot of like jokes in the movie. I mean, not a lot of jokes, it's not a comedy, but they try to like even up the mood because, you know, Infinity War ended kind of sad. So this one starts kind of sad, but then they start cracking a few jokes here and there. So the people in the audience, with me were laughing. Every once in a while, someone would go like, haha, that's so funny. And then everyone would like start laughing too. So there were definitely some funny scenes. There were definitely some intense like jump scare type scenes where like this lady next to me, she was there with her kids, and she like jumped like twice during this movie because something like really abrupt happened. So I thought that was really funny. So she was like really into it, and it was really cool to see like everyone's favorite superheroes showing up in this. Like some people are really big into Captain America, so whenever he was on the screen, there would be like guys in the back being like, yeah, that's my boy, man. That's Captain America, that's Cap. And then with like Thor shows up, someone just like, yo, that's Thor. You show them, yeah, you do it, man, type of thing. So everyone's like rooting for the characters they like. The lady next to me, she was really into Captain Marvel, so whenever Carol Danvers showed up on screen, she would be like, yeah, that's her, look, she's right here. So, I don't know, I just love this movie. I'm probably gonna go see it again, maybe next week, like on Monday or something, when the theater's a little bit less crowded, during the weekdays. But yeah, definitely go see Avengers Endgame if you can. Really, really good movie. Good action. Lots of like tying up of loose ends. Like it's basically the ending, like the finale for this current arc. So if you're looking to the conclusion, look no further. Just watch this movie. So let's get to the spoilers. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Seriously, go away if you haven't seen this movie yet, unless you don't care about spoilers and you want to know everything about what happens in the movie, then keep listening to this. Okay, so oh man, the movie right out of the beginning, you're like, they're gonna go fight Thanos, they're gonna make him pay for what he did. They go to where he is, they have Captain Marvel, the whole team's assembled, they're like, we're gonna beat him up, we're gonna take his gauntlet back, we're gonna bring everyone back to life. They go there, he already destroyed the gauntlet. Thor gets super angry and cuts Thanos' head off, like he literally cuts his head off. And everyone's like, why'd you do that? And he's like, he's a bad dude, and I saw an opening and I did it. And everyone's like, okay, you killed him. But the thing is, he destroyed all the gemstones so that no one else could use them. So they killed him, but there was nothing, they could do to bring back their friends, like Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, the Guardians of the Galaxy, like Star-Lord and Groot and all those guys from the previous movie. So they all get like super depressed. The movie starts with like Hawkeye really, really sad that his family, got disappeared or turned into ash. Everyone else, is sad about all the friends they lost. Tony Stark, Iron Man, he blames Captain America and the entire group, so he just leaves them. And then right after that, it just says 5 years later. Like 5 years passed and no one did anything. It's crazy. And then Ant-Man randomly shows up. If any of you watched Ant-Man 2, you know what happened to Ant-Man. But he basically got stuck in the quantum realm for a very long time. So he shows up and is like, hey, what's up everyone? Hey, where did everyone go? And he can't find his like same house that he used to live in. And he's like, where did everyone go? Why are all these people like dead? What's going on? So then he like looks up the Avengers and tries to get them all assembled again. Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson, of course. Thor, Chris Hemsworth, and all these other, famous actors playing superheroes in this movie. So he basically gets them all together and is like, yo, we need to time travel back time in the quantum realm. I know it can be done because I kind of did it. So we need to do that, go back in time, try to fix all of this stuff. And then they're like, we can't do that. We're not really that great in that science, time travel type stuff. That's not really us. The Hulk tries it, or should I say Banner tries to do it, but he kind of messes up. So then they go over to Tony Stark, who now has a kid. He married Gwyneth Paltrow's character, Pepper Potts. They have like a daughter. She's really cute in the movie. She like really likes her dad, Iron Man, Tony Stark. So he's just chilling there in his house with her, and they show up and are like, hey, you need to come work to help us like try to fix the past. And Tony Stark is really, really sad about what happened to Spider-Man, so he's like, okay, we'll do this. So, well, at first he's like, no, we're not doing this, I'm not doing that. And then after they leave, he's like at home, and he's like, you know what, that might work. So then he joins the team again. They all have like cool suits. They try to get everyone back in. Hawkeye is like an angry assassin going around the world fighting dudes because his family got basically deleted by Thanos. So Black Widow goes and gets him. Everyone kind of comes together. They devise a plan to go back in time throughout the movies and trying to get the Infinity Gemstones, bring them into the future, use them before Thanos to bring everyone back. So it gets crazy. So since they're traveling back in time, they can't really like interact with people or their past versions of themselves because it can like complicate things in the future. It's all sorts of crazy. This is the part of the movie where some people got kind of confused in the theater. Like I heard a few people saying like, what's going on? What's this? What's that? Like, it definitely is kind of chaotic when they go back in time because they're going to get all the gems before Thanos does. So they make sure to steal it from like Loki's staff, the Tesseract one. From there, they go to like the planets that Thanos went to get his Infinity Gemstones. And then here's the thing that happens. Thanos learns that they traveled back in time to his like present time to steal the gemstones and take them into the future. So then things start getting altered in the past because they start figuring out what's happening. So then it gets like really dangerous and kind of scary. But they finally manage to get all the gemstones and they bring them into the future, and this is like halfway through the movie. Like seriously, like up until this point, the first half was just all the planning, going back in time, getting the gemstones. They finally got it. They create like a gauntlet. Tony Stark created like a glove to harness the energy. And, oh, I forgot to mention, just like Thanos had to sacrifice his daughter Gamora to get one of the Infinity Gemstones. I forget which one. It's like the, what is it, the death one? Oh man, see, I'm a bad comic book fan. But technically I haven't been the biggest Marvel fan, so it's okay. If I was messing up DC stuff, that would be a problem. But regardless, just like he had to sacrifice Gamora for one of the gemstones, Infinity Gems, Hawkeye and Black Widow go there, and they're both trying to sacrifice like themselves so the other person can get the gemstone and save their friends. And Black Widow's like, no, you have your family to live for. So she tries to jump off and kill herself, and he's like, no, let me do it. And then she's like, no. And they literally like switch places like 4 times. It's insane. People were jumping out of their seats in the movie theater. And when she does sacrifice herself and dies, and Jeremy Renner's character Hawkeye gets the Infinity Stone, I hear people in the background like start crying. like softly, but there were people in the theater crying for Black Widow dying, so people got kind of sad after that. So, and she's like gone for good, like she's not coming back. She's dead, apparently. So that's kind of sad, to be honest. So anyway, they go back in the future with the stones, and they try to like figure out who to give the gauntlet to, and they're like, Thor can do it. No, Hulk is like, I'm the only one that can because I have like radiation, and I'm the only one that can withstand it because it almost killed Thanos. So imagine what it could do to me. So he basically gets it. It like starts really hurting him bad, but he like holds on. He snaps his fingers and brings back everyone that died. So that's awesome. Everyone's happy. Hawkeye gets like phone call from his wife, I think, and he's like really excited about that. So then after that, Thanos manages to come into the future through their portal in the quantum realm that they use to time travel. So the old Thanos, like before he got the gauntlet and infinity gems, when he was like super strong, he comes from the past into the future and just destroys like the Avengers base, and everyone's trapped under the rubble. And then Thanos shows up with like all his minions, all his like evil allies that were dead but came back in this one because of course they're still alive in the past when they time traveled. So just before we get to this final fight here, I just want to talk about some of the characters. Captain Marvel, after she shows up in the beginning of the movie, basically like disappears again. Like she's like, okay, goodbye guys, and she's out of there. So it's kind of crazy. She only shows up to help them, and then she like goes away. So this whole movie I was like, when's she gonna show up again? When everyone time traveled in the past, they had interactions with like family members that were dead. Like Thor talked to his mom, Tony Stark talked to his dad, stuff like that. I think Captain America had like an interaction or saw the girl that he liked. What was her name? Is it Peggy Carter? I think it's her. Peggy Carter, you know, the girl that he liked in Captain America, the first Avenger movie, you know, for Captain America. And yeah, it got kind of like emotional for those characters there. But the funny thing was, Thor, unlike Tony Stark, which just got angry at everyone and left because he felt bad about Spider-Man dying, especially, Thor, on the other hand, became like a drunk, fat dude, like really obese guy compared to how he looked like in the previous Avengers movies. You know, when you think of Thor, you're like, oh yeah, he definitely works out. He's got like six-pack abs. Whereas in this movie, he has like a beer belly, like a huge belly. He looks like Jabba the Hutt in Star Wars, no joke. And he's in his house, and he's playing Fortnite. Yes, Thor plays Fortnite. The Fortnite actually shows up in this movie like 3 times in Thor's house. They look at his TV like 3 times, and he's there with his friends, and they're like playing Fortnite, and he kind of like trolls this toxic kid online, or he's being toxic, calling this other kid trash. But it's kind of crazy, like Disney, you know, Marvel is really doing this Fortnite collaboration. So not only is Fortnite doing it with them, but they're doing it with Fortnite in their movie. So this whole movie, Thor basically does not lose weight. At least I didn't notice. He had the huge belly for the whole movie, which I thought was really surprising, just because he was so depressed and like sad after kind of like failing everyone and not being able to save all his friends from, you know, dying. So they kind of convinced him to go back with him. So fast forward back in the future, Thanos is there. They're all underneath the rubble. They're trying to get the glove. And they're like, what happened? Who just shot us? And Thanos shows up. all of his guys start fighting everyone else. There's like all sorts of enemies appearing. And this is like the craziest of crazy battles. I mean, I'm not even sure how long it lasts, but it feels like a really long time just because of how much is going on. So like Thor and Captain America, they both go after Thanos and fight him, and then Iron Man shows up and fights him, and they all team up and do like super cool team attacks on Thanos, and then he gets back up. And then like Captain America's shield is getting destroyed, and he's just beating and beating on Captain America. Like his face gets all bruised and like bloodied kind of in the side, and you're like, oh man, what's gonna happen to Cap? And then like Iron Man then is like all hurt as well, and Thor keeps trying to get up to help. And Thor can still fight, even though he has like a huge belly, he still fights like normal Thor. So I always thought that was kind of funny during the movie, like he doesn't even need to work out, he already has his powers basically, but everyone else is fighting. And then all of a sudden, Captain Marvel shows up when they need help, and she like completely starts destroying dudes left and right, destroys like a ship. Everyone's like really happy, and then she goes to fight Thanos, and it gets like, oh, you know what? I actually skipped over a part. So before Captain Marvel shows up, everyone that died comes back. So Spider-Man comes back, Doctor Strange, Star-Lord, the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxy, except for Gamora, because she was sacrificed. She can't come back from the dead from that. But yeah, they're all there, they're all back, they're all fighting. Spider-Man, Peter Parker's really happy to see Tony Stark again. He's like, hey, Mr. Stark, like, oh, Doctor Strange guy, he was like, oh, we have to go help, and we just came out of his portal thingy, and it's been 5 years, but it really hasn't, or something. I don't know, he explained what happened. So Black Panther shows up, his sister, she's awesome, she's fighting there too. Everybody's fighting, everybody, like, from all the movies, every single character that, the Valkyrie, from Thor, what was it, Thor 3 is her first appearance, I believe. Basically, everybody. Scarlet Witch shows up in one of the coolest scenes of the movie. She is literally one of the strongest characters, like no joke. She gets really angry because they killed Vision in the previous movie, and Vision was powered by one of the Infinity Gems or Stones, so he can't really be brought back apparently. Maybe he can in the future, but not in this movie. So she's like, oh, I'm gonna teach you for what you did, or whatever type of thing. She says something really cool, I forget, but she like levitates Thanos in the air with a bunch of like huge rocks, and he can't move, and she just starts like beating on him and stuff. It's really, really cool. Like, she's really powerful. And then everyone, joins in. Everyone's fighting other enemies. Everyone's trying to fight Thanos and trying to keep him from getting the glove with the Infinity Stones on them. So then, when it starts getting really hard, because Thanos orders his ships to just start shooting the entire planet where they're fighting. So allies or enemies, everyone's getting shot up, and Doctor Strange like puts protective barriers for everyone. Everyone's like panicking. Captain Marvel shows up, destroys the ship in like 1 second without any problem. And then she starts to fight Thanos, and he's like, whoa, what's going on here? And everyone's fighting, and she's really strong. She almost like beats him this one point. Like, he punches her in the face like full force, and she just like stands there and is like, nothing. What did you just try to do? And then he realizes that, whoa, she's really strong. So he takes one of the stones, puts it in his hand, and then like punches her with that. And I don't know what happens to her after that. She like completely goes away. And he has the gauntlet. And then at this point, Tony Stark like quickly runs towards Thanos and like clutches onto him. And is like, no. And Doctor Strange is the one that told Tony Stark to go there, because he knew that the only way they would win is what he saw in the future would happen. So Tony goes. gets the gauntlet, and Thanos snaps his finger, not realizing that the stones aren't on the glove anymore. And then Tony Stark turns around, powers it up, and is like, he snaps his fingers, but before he says it, he's like, I am Iron Man. And he says it really cool. Like, the ending part also sounded kind of robotic, like he was speaking through his suit. And he snaps his fingers, and one of the coolest snaps. And basically, it kills all of Thanos' men, all his, like, army, and him as well. Like, he turns into ash. But here's the sad thing. Tony Stark, his suit could not withstand, like, the power of the Infinity Stones or whatever. So immediately after he does that, he starts dying. Like, all his energy is getting drained from his body, and there's nothing they can do. So they're all, like, really sad for him. Everyone shows up, everyone's sad. It's a really, really sad scene, probably the most sad scene in the movie. The lady next to me, she started crying like the mom. She must have really liked Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, Iron Man in these movies, because she was like sad. You could hear her like muffled crying next to me, which, you know, is perfectly fine. You know, if you cry for movies, some movies can get really, really sad. I'm just saying this because this is kind of like a sad movie, so you all should be warned. A few people, like a few seats back, I heard there was basically a total of like 4 people in the theater that I could audibly hear were crying during the scene, and it goes on for a few minutes. So you start to feel it. Like, once the family is like, what happened? And it's like, he's dead. He's dead. Like, he's not coming back. He sacrificed himself so that everyone could live in peace in the future. And yeah, it's really awesome. There's kind of like a sad, sweet moment where Star-Lord meets Gamora from the past before she even met him. And he's like, oh, it's you. And she like hits him because she's like, I don't even know you yet. And he's like, oh. But hopefully they'll work that out, and at least he has one version of Gamora, you know, to keep him company in the future, because he was really sad about her dying in the last movie. This one guy was a really, really big Spider-Man fan. Like, whenever Spider-Man was fighting, he was like clenching the seat with his like fist, and he was like shaking it back and forth. There was no one in the seat, by the way, so, but he was like there, like, yeah, go Spidey, go, and he was like shaking it. Like, he's like a big Spider-Man fanboy, you could tell, which is awesome. But he was really into the Spider-Man scenes. There's one scene where he was in a like really tough spot and he needed to get out of there, and he was like freaking out, like, oh no, what's gonna happen, oh no, like really intense. So that was great. But all in all, this movie was awesome. Basically only 2 main like characters die, Black Widow and Iron Man. Everyone else is safe except for like Vision and Gamora, which died in the previous movie. They can't come back. Maybe they will, who knows, wink wink. But yeah, the movie ends. Tony Stark's family is kind of sad that he's gone, but he left a recording for them to see. And the rest of the Avengers, you know, are all together again, and who knows what the future will bring, you know. And Thor is still fat at the end of the movie, so that's funny. But yeah, it definitely feels changed now that Tony Stark is gone. Oh, and there's a sad ending, kind of sweet, kind of sad ending. In order to maintain the balance, they have to take back the Infinity Stones back into the past, so the past doesn't get erased from the timeline. So after they defeat Thanos, they have Captain America go back with the Infinity Gemstones and restore them in the exact same spot that they found them in the exact same time. But he doesn't come back, and they're like, oh no, what happened to Captain America? Why didn't he come back? Well, Captain America decided to stay in the past so he could live a normal life in the period of time that he was supposed to be in with the woman that he loved, Peggy Carter. So we see like an old version of him at the end of the movie, that he lived like a full entire life in the past. So I was kind of happy, you know, for Captain America to have a family and everything. But it's also kind of sad, you know, because it's like, well, technically you weren't supposed to be in the future, but we were happy that you were. But also, like, we don't want to see you go. And he passes on his Captain America shield. And it's like, whoa, this is a big moment. Like, he's passing the torch to the next generation of Avengers, and that was a big deal. So I can't wait for the next Black Panther movie. That's going to be really, really cool, and can't wait to see what they do, you know, with the next Iron Man, next Captain America movie, with the new actor playing the next Captain America, I bet. And the new Avengers, you know, how that's going to work out. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but this is like a conclusion. And there was like no special ending credits, like teasers or anything. Like, I just stayed through the whole thing, but there was nothing, so I was kind of surprised about that. But anyway, that is all for this movie review. So, spoilers at the end here. Let me know what you thought. What are your thoughts on the movie if you've seen it? And if you haven't seen the movie, what are your thoughts on the story I just told? Hopefully it made sense. I kind of skipped around some other plot points, but I think I covered most of the big stuff. Anyway, if you enjoyed listening or watching this video, please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll be sure to have a new ASMR gaming video out very, very soon. And if you want to help support the channel, head on over to patreon.com/ASMRGaming. And with as little as $1 a month, you can help support the channel and the creation of videos just like this one, so definitely do that if you can. Anyway, thanks for listening to this review, and I will see you all next time.